We'll continue on with our program, and our next one is going to be from the Atlantic Range Council, 2003 Research Update. Our next speaker this morning is going to be Courtney Boyce, and she will be presenting the information. Courtney's been the research lead with LP Consulting since 2019, where she's conducted field trials for AGC, numerous other companies. She organizes the field work, the farmers, the inputs, to ensure all research protocols are met. And her time in the field has given her the first-hand knowledge of the trial results. Raised on a dairy and a blueberry farm, her background is the foundation of her expanding work with LP. Courtney is also a certified nutrient management planner and can be found working with farmers all across Atlantic Canada. Welcome, Courtney.
Thanks, everybody. First spot after coffee break, can't complain about that. So let's get started. Our agenda, going over some of the trials that we worked on in 2023, soybean rolling trial, barley nitrogen, winter wheat seeding rate and timing, 2 different alpine trials on corn, and we'll go over the corn seeding rate trial that we completed in 2022 as well. First up, soybeans. We just had the rolling trial this year. The rolling trial had a first version, which we ran in 2021 and 2022. This grew from the previous soybean seeding rate trial, where we learned that there was a lot more to do with crop rotation than your seeding rate in terms of yield. So, based on that, we started to look at if we could change things up based on your rotation by prepping differently. Oh, this is clicky. By prepping differently and rolling beforehand and seeing if we could work with the trash left from the previous crop. So we had 3 treatments: rolling before planting, rolling after planting, and rolling before and after. Our seeding rate was treated as a variable. We determined that rolling timing had no effect on yield. There was no statistical difference. So in 2023, we revamped that protocol. We had 22 sites across the Maritimes. Oh, yep, that is right, sorry. We had no rolling and then rolling at first trifoliate. So there was a lot of conflicting data in North America about if we were going to be able to increase yield by rolling the beans, beating them up a little bit, and promoting branching. Once again, the seeding rate was treated as a variable. So if you can see here, I put both trials onto the same graph because once again, rolling did not result in increased yields. There was a slight increase in yield from rolling at first trifoliate versus before planting, but there wasn't a statistical difference in that yield. So you can see we have rolling after, rolling before and after, just before, rolling at V1, which is your first trifoliate, versus the no rolling. I should also note that all of the rolled at V1 and a majority of the no rolling were from 2023, so keep that in mind as well. Rotation effect. Rotation continues to have the most statistically significant effect on our soybean yields in all the trials that we're doing. So we have again the roll before seeding, after seeding, before and after, no roll, and rolled at V1. And then the previous crop, so blue is grain, red is soybean, green is corn. There's not a lot of data here yet. As you can see, we only had 1 site that had soybeans before soybeans, so that we're just starting to dig into this now. Rotation effect, again, soybean yields for all of the different soybean trials we've conducted from 2015 to 2023 on farm. We took the previous crop anytime it was available. Previous rotation had a statistically significant effect on yield. Soybeans after corn had the highest yield. And we're getting into some bigger N values here where we're able to cross-reference across different trials. So that's going to be fun to continue digging into as we do some more soybean work. So our take-homes from the soybean rolling: first, rotation affects yield more than any treatment. 2, rolling timing does not affect yield regardless of previous crop. And 3, rolling at first trifoliate does not increase yields. Once again, that was just from 2023 data. Moving on to the barley now, we had our barley nitrogen trial. We'll take a step back for this one as well, as it was an updated protocol that grew from a previous trial. From 2019 to 2022, we had 28 sites across the Maritimes trying different nitrogen applications. All of the treatments received 80 pounds of actual nitrogen just in different forms. So there was urea all at planting, 80 pounds of N all up front. Urea split, 40 pounds at planting and 40 pounds top dressed at stem elongation. Then we had a urea ESN blend, which was 60% of urea, 40% ESN. That was all applied at planting again. And the fourth treatment, we had a DCD or a non-leaching agrochain coated urea, again, all at planting. For 2023, we've dropped that down to just the urea at planting and the DCD coated urea at planting. So all of the 2023 plots were on PEI, so I pulled the PEI data from 2019 to 22 to compare against the 2023. The protected nitrogen products have not been showing to increase our yield significantly enough to pay for the difference in the pricing, which is disappointing. They're not harming the yield, but we're not getting any further ahead. This goes through all 5 years of the trial. Starting in 2019, the 4 different treatments, we pulled this out to see if during different years, different weather patterns, if different treatments were reacting differently to the weather. And in each individual year, we had no significant difference in yield between treatment. So weather may have been a factor, but it did not result in a significant difference in yield. And then you'll see, of course, in 2023, we only had the 2 treatments, so there's a little less there. So started digging into previous crop and barley. This is new to look at for us. We haven't found this in barley research before. The previous crop is showing to have a larger impact on yield than our nitrogen stabilizers are. So once again, everything comes back to your rotation. We took tissue results each year of this trial. They're collected prior to flowering. Every year up to 2023, the protected nitrogen, the DCD, and the ESN had the highest nitrogen tissue levels. In 2023, they didn't. I don't really have an explanation for this. It doesn't super make sense. We'd need more years of data to go off of. Protein results, there is a trend of the DCD, non-leaching agrochain treatment, having higher protein levels than the urea. There's no significant difference, but should we continue on and have more sites, there could be. Next steps on barley, where we're not seeing a yield increase by using the protected nitrogen products, it might be interesting to start looking at dialing back the rate of nitrogen applied with those products, and maybe we can still get the same yields with using less product, and then in turn have a positive ROI for the purchase of those and have to buy less fertilizer. We'd also like to start looking into the greenhouse gas emissions and what we're changing by using the protected nitrogen, and this would involve having GHG collars set out in the field to measure what is being gassed off in the urea treatment versus the protected nitrogen treatment and see just how much we're saving. Winter wheat, we did a seeding rate and date trial from 2020 to 2023, so we harvested the last round of this in 2023. We wanted to determine if increasing seeding rate will compensate for late seeding, which, as we had in the last presentation, seems to be a hot topic everywhere. We had 30 sites in Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island from 2020 to 2023. The treatments have changed a little bit along the way based on trying to get target seeding dates, but overall, we had a target seeding date of September 10th, seeding at 1.7 million seeds an acre, a target seeding date of September 25th at 1.7 million, at October 10th at 1.7 million, and again at October 10th, but this time bumping up the seeding rate to 2.1 million seeds per acre. This is just the results from 2023. The weather issues caused some missed seedings on the early planting. The September 25th seeding date actually had the highest yields, which is a change from previous years, but likely due to the weather conditions at the time of seeding. They were a little more favorable generally early September than they were this year. So these results, instead of going by treatment and the target seed date, I pulled out the actual seeding date and tried to group them as best I could. We never get all of them in on the exact seeding date because it rains or snows or whatever else comes. So these are actual seeding dates. We have September 15th to 20th, 22nd to 30th, October 1st to 9th, October 11th to 20th, and the last one was October 11th to 24th, which will treat us the same. As you can see, the earlier planting has the higher yield. When we're getting later into September, we start dropping, and then when we get into October, we're dropping more. There is a bump from the extra seed late in October versus just going at the regular seeding rate. But more importantly for that, return on investment. So these are the same groupings as the previous graph. How much does delayed planting cost you? So delaying your planting by 1 or 2 weeks can cost you about $135 an acre at the same seeding rate, and this is based on a wheat value of $300 per metric ton. If delayed planting is necessary, increase the seeding rate. You do get a positive ROI, but as you can see on our last, well, I guess I'm not pointing anymore. On our last round, it was 25 bucks an acre, so take that as you will. If you can plant early, do it. If you can't, bump your seeding rate a bit. Delaying your planting by 4 weeks can cost you $111 an acre, even with the added seeding rate. Does anyone have any questions on that before I skip past? Perfect. So our take homes from wheat: plant early. Increasing seeding rate does not compensate for delayed planting as much as we would like it to, but you're still better off. Corn, we had 2 new trials this year with Alpine using foliar products. And again, we'd like to talk about the seeding rate trial that we'd completed previously. First up, F18 Max, an 846 foliar with manganese and zinc. 2023 was the first year we implemented these protocols. We had just 2 treatments: the control, the producer's regular corn fertility, and then the treatment where we mixed 1 liter per acre of the F18 with a post-emergence herbicide application. So the entire field received the same pre-plant, hopper, and top dress fertilizer, exact same nutrients, exact same everything. The only difference was the addition of this F18 to that herbicide application. We only had 3 sites, 2 in PEI, 1 in Nova Scotia, so we don't have enough sites yet to determine any statistical significance. We are seeing a bit of a yield bump. You can see the purple there is the Alpine product, the green is the control. So all 3 sites, we saw a bit of an increase. There was no difference in the tissue results, protein, test weight, or 1,000 kernel weight. We take all of that for all of the trials. I will say a lot of tissue results came back like that this year with all the rain, everything washed away, and a lot of different trial work I did, not just the grains work. The second Alpine trial, a foliar Alpine K19S, which is a 0016 plus 6S, and is designed to be tank mixed with UAN at a top dress. 2023 was again the first year. Same thing, 3 sites, 2 on PEI, 1 in Nova Scotia. A control, which had the same fertilizer as the treatment, including the UAN top dress. The only difference being in the treatment, there was the addition of the K19 mixed in with the UAN. Once again, the purple is the treatment and the green is the control. 2 out of the 3 sites had a slight yield increase over the control. The potassium did increase in the tissues on this one, however, the sulfur did not. There was no difference in the feed tests. Again, we don't have enough data for statistical significance, but there is a bit of a bump on those first 2 fields there. Getting into the corn seeding rate trial, we ran this trial in 2021 and 22. We had 28 grain corn sites and 8 corn silage sites across the Maritimes. Our purpose was to determine if the seeding rate affects the yield. There were 3 treatments: 36,000 seeds per acre, 32,000 seeds per acre, and 28,000 seeds per acre. All row widths were 30-inch. The fields all receive the same fertility, fungicides, herbicides, whatever the farmer's regular program was. Plants per acre, there was a significant difference in plants per acre, and as you can see, the plants per acre for the 28,000 seeds per acre and 32,000 seeds per acre come out pretty close to the seeding rate target. However, the 36,000 seeding rate target ended up coming a little shy of hitting 36. That's closer to 33, really. Silage yield results. No statistical difference in yield, but there is a cost difference. So if your cost of seed was $360 a bag, that's $126 for a seeding rate of 28,000, $144 at 32,000, which is an $18 an acre increase, and $162 an acre at 36,000, which is a $36 increase. You can see our silage yields. Not enough to be statistically different. There was actually a bump in yield at the less seeds per acre. On our grain corn, again, a slight bump in yield at 28,000 seeds per acre versus the higher seeding rate. At a corn price of $425 a ton, an economical difference in yield of 0.2 tons an acre is $85 for every acre. Higher seeding costs plus reduced yield equals a loss of $117 an acre at the 36,000 seeds per acre. I should also point out that variety was also treated as a variable here. We recorded it all, but we didn't pull out the variety-driven data, so that could change things as well. Rotation effect. The yield was not affected by seeding rate and rotation type. Increasing seeding rate does not increase yield. We had low N values for the silage, but it seemed to follow the same trends as the grain corn results. And here again, you can see the seeding rate trial yields by treatment and rotation type. So we have corn following corn, and the 3 seeding rates, corn following grain, so that'd be barley, wheat, etc. You see the seeding rates, corn following potatoes, and then corn following soybeans. Rotation effect again. So this looks at corn in the previous rotation. So Y0 would be no corn in the past 3 years rotation. Y1, the previous year was corn. Y2, 2 years ago was corn. Y13, year before and 3 years ago were corn. And Y23, both 2 and 3 years ago were corn. So looking at Y0 and Y2, we have a higher yield than the treatments where corn had been twice in the rotation previous. So over on the side where you see the Y13 and 23, having more corn on the rotation is showing to decrease your yields. So our take home from the corn seeding rate, increasing your seeding rate does not necessarily increase your yield. Rotation type does not affect yield based on seeding rate. A longer rotation, so more time in between planting corn, is going to increase your yield. Follow your seed company recommendations based on variety because that's going to have more information. And that is my update, short and sweet. The rain ruined the rest of it, but if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Well, thanks, Courtney. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
A little gift here for you.
Thank you.